Today is going to be a raw, nasty episode because we are talking about dirty boxing, how to get to the inside and jam people, how to grab and hit, how to make life really uncomfortable for this person while still sticking within the rules that we're allowed to utilize. Today, guys, dirty boxing. All right, if you have watched my fight in China, when I fought for the Hero Legends belt, you will have seen some dirty boxing executed very nicely. Now, this is not a style I normally utilize, but in the second round, I moved in on this guy and I went, you know what? This is working. He doesn't have an answer. And I just kept on with it for the fight, scoring myself a couple 8 counts along the way. And I have had a number of requests to go through dirty boxing. Now, let me just say, this is basically a teaser episode because I don't have a training partner with me. I'm going to show you guys what I utilized in the fight and talk about it. But if you want the full episode, and I know I've promised many full episodes, but just in a week coming up, I have one of my students coming to film with me. So if you want a full tutorial on dirty boxing techniques, tactics, throw it down in the comments below. Let me know. When I get lots of comments on topics, I get it done. Just like this one today, I had a lot of people asking about it, so I'm getting it done. So we have 5 points, which we are going to touch on. Now, keep in mind, to be good at dirty boxing, you already need to be a good boxer. It's not like you can just do one or the other. I truly believe you need to have solid hands, and then you can move into that dirty boxing style after the foundation of your boxing is already pretty darn good. So let's move into my first tip, and that is to crowd the distance with a double arm guard. So if I stay on the outside, and I give this guy room. I give him breathing room. There's no pressure from me. There's no me moving forward into his face. Now, once I get to this position, just simply putting my gloves against his gloves, we see that all the time in kickboxing. That's super Dutch style. So what makes it dirty? Well, what we need to do is we need to put our hands to our head, apply pressure, and literally push this guy back. And if we can get their back to the ring ropes, we utilize that pressure to keep them there. The only way they're going to get away is if they angle, but if they just hang there and they let your weight sort of force against them, they're going to be stuck in that position and they're going to have a lot of trouble dealing with that pressure from you. Now, next up, the next tip is once we get to that position where we're falling forward on them, from there I start getting one hand up in their face, one hand to really get their guard up and think for a second like, oh shoot, he's still pressuring me with 2 hands, but I'm not. I pressure with one hand and the other hand is hitting him. Now, technically, yes, this is incorrect. You're not going to have as much power and you are more exposed, but this is dirty boxing and we are breaking general rules. So you get that hand out in their face, their back is against the ring ropes, you're pushing them, boom, and you come right back to here. Put your hand out, boom, boom, and then you come back to here. You always have to return to here so you don't leave yourself too exposed for too long a period because then the counters are going to come. But moving on to point number 3, we have the next tactic which will hopefully keep you safe from counters, and that is utilizing your head, put it right against theirs. If somebody's out here, this is their head, easy to punch. Right here, uppercuts and hooks, easy to punch. When the head's here, not so easy to punch, very awkward. So I utilize many times in this fight. I go from here to here, and then I get my head right up in their face, right beside their head. From there, I can fire with the body shots, or I can pull back when I'm ready, and then go back to striking. But then I get my head right back in there. Now, the one downside to this is it's more likely that your heads are going to collide, and you're going to end up getting cuts. And I have had that numerous times in my career where I've got cuts from headbutts, not always by me just throwing my head in, like I'm talking about right now, but just in general, you need to be aware that keeping your hands down here and punching while your head's close is going to leave you exposed to that possibility of having a head collide against your eyebrows. The next tip for dirty boxing is to make sure you're hitting them while they're trying to grab you. If somebody goes to wrap up your head, and you're focused on, okay, I'm just gonna let that happen, I'm gonna hug with them, or I'm gonna try and pull away, I'm gonna try and force my head away or slip out. Those are all fine options, but if they're grabbing you with 2 hands, they are completely utilizing their two punching tools, and they're not able to defend themselves as well. If they go up high, you go down to the body. If they try and drag you, you go up to the head. So when that head is grabbed, you just work away. You make life really difficult for them. They think, okay, I've got him in the clinch, I'm safe. No, you're not safe. Dirty boxing has come out to play. And the final tip for today, like I said, this is going to be a fast episode. It's going to be a fairly short episode, but that doesn't mean you guys don't love it. If you are enjoying the video, make sure you give it a like, get subscribed if you haven't already. Let's get back to point number 5, and that is talking about utilizing the forearms in the face. It's basically a post. So I can go from 2 hands and then to grabbing the guy's head and hitting him, getting my head buried, and then I can also at some points get that forearm right up in their face and force them backwards. It stops this guy from being able to move to me as well. If his back is against the ring ropes, he tries to pressure into me, I can force him here either from making a move forward, or I can push him back to create space because that bony forearm is going right up in their throat or their eyes or somewhere uncomfortable. You push them back, you go back to hitting. You put your hand back out, they run into you, they try to close the distance. No, that forearm is in your face. Floyd Mayweather was fantastic at slapping around people and then going back to that push with the forearm in the face. Very frustrating to deal with. And actually, bonus tip, just because we're talking about Floyd Mayweather, and this is something that I do in dirty boxing quite often, I don't hit with this part of the glove. I hit with this part of the glove, right in there. So if you come around for a hook instead of landing with the knuckles, which probably hurts more, but is easier to block because we understand the range of a hook. If we extend the arm out a little bit and we kind of slap down, we can come right behind the guard and get behind the ear, just right beside the ear or behind the ear, a little slap to the head. I don't know if I utilize that technique in this fight that we're talking about in China where I won the Hero Legends belt, but it's definitely something I have busted out in other fights and something I certainly train. Guys like the Diaz brothers are great at essentially throwing the slap, but they go with the palm because they're using MMA gloves, whereas with boxing gloves, you end up coming more with this zone right there. All right, unfortunately, my computer, something glitched out and the second half of the video got deleted, so I have to refilm this. So what I want to talk about for the closing section of the video is when and how you can utilize training for dirty boxing. Because I guarantee you, if you start busting this out in sparring sessions with your buddies, they're not gonna be happy with you. So let's talk about how I have trained this. First of all, in pad work, it's fairly difficult. Like, yes, you can do it, but you need a pad holder who understands all of it and wants to work with you. So I personally find that dirty boxing on a bag is one of the best ways. You can get right in against the bag, you can grind against it, you can put your hand, your forearm up to the bag, sort of slide your elbow across, practice hitting. You can do all that and the bag is not gonna get upset at you like a pad holder or a sparring partner will. Now, one of the times where I've had the most success training dirty boxing, where I don't have to worry about being really nice, is when I do sparring with people from different gyms. Lots of times when I spar people out of town. And I always establish before we start, I ask the coach and I say, how hard are we going to spar today? How hard are we going to be going? And the coach usually looks at me, especially when we're talking about just boxing, and he just says, it's a fight, full out. He's going to try and knock you out, you try and knock him out. And I always go, well, I don't want to try and knock anybody out, but this does open the opportunity for me to utilize some dirty boxing. Because I have sparred some very high-level guys throughout the years. Some of Manny Pacquiao's sparring partners, a couple guys from Ireland, one of which who has gone on and won a pro world title. When I spar these guys in the first couple rounds, skill level-wise, if it's my jab versus their jab, they should have a superior jab. They only have 2 weapons to utilize, to work on, whereas I have the whole body with my legs and the knees, clinch, all those other aspects. So for the first couple rounds, I usually find guard up really tight and just make sure I don't take too much punishment. 2 things work for me well in dirty boxing. Number 1, my cardio is usually superior to other people. So I can usually wait until the later part of a sparring session and really wear them down. But number 2, the clinch work, which I'm really good at, which the boxers are not. is fantastic. So if I get in and I kind of pull down on somebody and able to hit them and then push up against them and utilize those clinch tactics, sparring against high-level boxers becomes much easier. This is a fact for me because I have experimented with it many times and it really does work. Dirty boxing really does work, especially in my experience against boxers who don't have that in-tight, raw sort of clench experience where they're just not used to that ugly, dirty sort of style. So this is where you want to train it, either on the bag or when you're doing harder rounds with somebody from a different gym. Aside from that, guys, I hope you really enjoyed this episode on dirty boxing. If you did, if you want more, make sure, like I said, in the comments below, to let me know you want the full tutorial with the training partner. If you did enjoy this video enough, please give it a like. If you haven't already, join the channel, get subscribed. Train hard, guys. I'll see you back here soon for another video.